at 5:55.
Top 5 players are the biggest shoes to fill in 2023. This is not the players that's leaving, it's the players that are replacing them, but we'll go through that. Just for clarification purposes, there was a little bit of confusion when I teased that on the chat room. But number 5, Carson, Beck, or Brock Vandergriff from Georgia. Now, 2 years ago, if you told me that Stetson Bennett was going to have some of the biggest shoes to fill in the country when he leaves, I'd have been like, no. But I don't know where you're getting that. But this is a guy who brought Georgia to the national championship game and won it at least once and might win it again on Monday night. And so you might have a 2-time national championship winning quarterback, which in the history of the University of Georgia does not exist. And they've got Carson Beck. The Brock Vandergriff was a super, super blue chip recruit. So they've got options. I'm just, we haven't really seen much of either of them at all. And so I don't know, nobody knows really what we're going to see when they take over. They're stepping into a great situation, but still huge shoes to fill now that people in Athens and in the Georgia fan base realize that they can reach the mountaintop.
Yeah. Brock Vandergriff, remember when he was in Oklahoma committed at one point in time? Two guys who've, got big expectations in store for, a quarterback battle. Obviously, it's going to be coming up. So, interested to see how Stetson Bennett, finishes up his career. But what a great story. I'm sure there'll be some Disney type movie if he wins, on Monday from walk on to, whatever that we'll see. But they'd be deserved. I think. The Heisman thing, I was never on board with all of that push there by, a certain segment of probably mainly Georgia fans for him to be there. I didn't necessarily think that he was deserving of an invite, compared to some other guys. But I don't say that to dismiss him as a player. He's part of the reason they won the other day and a big part of the reason why they are where they are. Obviously, he's got a lot of talent around him. But he could very well be the guy that wins or loses this game for them.
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes out there and pulls a Michigan, throws some balls the way of, Tre'Davious Hodges Tomlinson, then TCU will make him pay. So he's going to have to be good no matter how good all the guys are around him.
Okay, which of those two has a name that's best to replace the name of Stetson Bennett?
Vandergriff.
Yeah, Vandergriff. Yeah, right there. So, no offense to Carson.
He's a
Beck,
Georgia guy, right? Brock Vandergriff is from Bogart, Georgia.
Yeah. Number 4, Reuben Owens, true freshman, come in at Texas A&M. He has to be one of the guys who replaces the only thing that worked on offense at all for A&M this year. Now, look, I don't think he's at all daunted by that task. I think he welcomes it. He seems to be that kind of a dude. But even still, the new offense under Bobby Petrino, the only thing that worked was Devin Achane. He's going to the NFL. And based on the way that running backs kind of are used now, I think he's going to be a pretty darn good NFL player and that he can do a lot of different things. So reminds me a lot of Tony Pollard, as a matter of fact. And Christian McCaffrey, kind of that kind of back who you can line him up all over the place. But Reuben Owens has big shoes to fill because, it might, for a little bit, be all in the running game, him and whoever else is back there.
Yeah, they've...
Reuben's R-U-E, by the way.
R-U-E?
Yeah, okay. Because somebody will bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously a good get for them. Louisville's loss was A&M's gain, and he's a guy that obviously got a lot of attention being as highly rated as he was, and then I just kind of, it's foregone conclusion he's going to be going to Louisville, but then, as Satterfield and company, just kind of there's that uncertainty, and, big get for A&M, who's really it seemingly had some big recruiting gets that, the season being what it was hasn't necessarily tapered that off too tremendously. They're not sitting there talking about the top class in the country once again, but I think they're still having some pretty good success. And, yeah, getting Reuben Owens was huge, especially given the losses they're about to incur.
Yep. By the way, Paxton, you got 2. You got 2, Paxton. Number 3, one of the ones that Paxton got, Jonathon Brooks at Texas. This is huge. And, look, he had the touchdowns in the bowl game, so we saw a little bit of him, probably not as much as Texas needed to show in that game to win that game. Craig and I talked about where you're gone yesterday, Smokey. That game was kind of indicative at this point, as talented as Quinn Ewers is that offense, and maybe it's not Quinn Ewers' fault, but that offense doesn't win games when they're not balanced. They can't just rely on him to do it. And Jonathon Brooks, scored the two of the touchdowns they scored in the game. they didn't, if you ask anybody from Texas, they didn't give him the ball enough. But he takes over for, and I will die on this hill, the best player they've had since 2009.
Colt McCoy.
Since that Colt McCoy, that team that lost to Alabama.
You said that yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, but you're right.
No,
they've had
since that team left, since those guys lost to Alabama, since that's been over, Bijan Robinson is the best player they've had.
Yeah, and he's such man. I enjoyed talking to him. Craig and I got a chance to visit with him. I bring that up because it was so much fun. He, classy kid. What about the young freshman coming in, the running back, this Baxter? But I think Jonathan Brooks is going to get the first crack. He's really good. He scored in the damn bowl game. He did, yeah.
So he's going to get credit, and I know that they've had, but part of the thing is, and the reason I can say that is, part of the thing you judge is how hot people have been after Texas players, at that next level. Well, since that 2009 team, that has been dwindling, to where there's not a lot of Texas players in the league right now, which is kind of hard to believe. So Bijan, for them, they hope he starts a new trend. But, Jonathan Brooks has to replace, a really, really great player that Texas had that was underutilized in the other part of his career.
Yeah, and Paxton brought up Trey Wisner. I think Trey Wisner is going to be used in many different ways, like a Swiss Army knife, because he's got such unbelievable speed. I don't know about how much they'll use him as purely a running back. Probably a lot of jet sweeps or screens or whatever they do with him. He's really good, but I don't know about being a pure running back at Texas, and I could be wrong.
Yeah. Number 2, Jalen Milroe at Alabama has to replace the Heisman Trophy winner and Bryce Young, a guy who won a ton of games, who's going to be the first pick in the draft. He played a little bit this year. They have Ty Simpson behind him. They've got 2 true freshmen coming in. So the players coming in at quarterback for Alabama when the spring starts will be a redshirt sophomore in Jalen Milroe, a redshirt freshman in Ty Simpson, and 2 true freshmen that they have coming in. From this signing class. So there's not going to be a lot of experience back there. And I thought for a minute that they might add a transfer quarterback, but it doesn't seem like that's kind of in the offing for them right now because, again, they didn't have a lot of experience. And I do think that, when Nick Saban gave Jalen Milroe the start, it means to me that he believes in Jalen Milroe enough to let him do that. So, and not take a chance. So.
Has to protect the football, right?
Yeah.
Jalen? They screw this up. So.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe, but he's a guy obviously that's got a lot of talent, and they're going to have a good little competition there in Tuscaloosa, and I think we all know from his background he's a tremendous athlete, but we also know that doesn't necessarily translate to great success, especially at a place like Alabama. So yeah, he's got his work cut out for him, but obviously a guy that there's a lot of expectations for, and stepping into some huge shoes, man. I mean that Alabama quarterback, that Alabama machine in general, but especially looking at the quarterback position, they've churned him out. So yeah, he's a guy I'm excited to see more of, and we'll see what kind of 5-star status he can live up to. But following Bryce Young is going to be no easy task.
Yeah, I swear to God, I googled that. I swear to God.
Well, you know what? If you had a real computer.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't even want to post this. I'm so pissed about that at myself right now.
Well, I don't think you should.
Chandler,
it was funny because you said it like 4 times. I think you said it once, and I was like, I was going to correct you.
I'm really mad, and I'm about to punch myself in the face.
No,
Your face
it's good.
is turning red.
I'm mad at myself. I'm really mad and humiliated. I'm like ridiculously humiliated.
We all look a little tinted red.
Actually, this is Chandler.
Yeah. Chandler Morris, TCU quarterback.
You've been great.
Chandler Morris, TCU quarterback, replacing the Heisman Trophy runner-up. Get your butt back here. This is good. I think this segment needs to be posted just so we can see a little bit of a – and you're pretty good about temper tantrums.
What? Pretty good
about
him?
We were just having fun with you.
I'm not. I'm mad at myself. Like when he said that, I was like, "Oh, you gotta be. Honestly, I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna curse. I said, you gotta be shitting me that I did this again.
Oh my God!
I was like, you gotta be. And look, I pride myself on spelling, but a lot of this is copy and paste, and you're doing things. And I googled, and I swear to God, I thought his name was Jaden, and F me in the B that it's not. So. You know, I am ridiculous. I don't want this to go on the internet again. I know it's probably going to because I'm making a gigantic fat white asshole of myself. But I can't believe it. Chandler Morris has big shoes to fill because there's never been a TCU quarterback like Max Duggan.
What?
But that doesn't really matter. So
TCU? Davey O'Brien, Sammy Ball.
Okay, there's not been a TCU quarterback in our lifetimes like Max Duggan.
That could be my lifetime with Sammy Ball.
There's not been a TCU quarterback who didn't have to use a white and black West room at one point in his life. I mean,
oh dear God.
You know.
Do you have a doobie you could smoke after the show?
Yeah. So this one went off the rails.
What did you say his first name was?
Chandler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chandler Bong Morris.
Yeah. I was like, when I looked at the screen, I was like, you got to be kidding.
The reason why you cannot post this is not because of anything you said a minute ago or the chair falling. That needs to be posted. It's because as good as this list was, everybody will just point out the fact you misspelled like 4 names.
Two. Let's get it right.
Chandler.
Let's get it right. No, I didn't. That was just Craig saying that, and I thought, oh my God, I did it again. And because I was convinced his name was Jaden, and when I Googled, I was like, Jaden or Jalen. I put in Jalen Milroe, and it popped up on Google. So I was like, okay, good.
It's all good, Paul. Great show. That was hilarious. Paul just went full Italian. Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Sick 'em. If you've never made a mistake, you aren't doing anything. Spelling is hard.
Yeah, it is, apparently.
Go home and sip on that rumble, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too serious in light of this, but I mean, Chandler Morris was a starting quarterback for TCU when this year started, and he got hurt, and Max Duggan became a story as a result, and who knows how quickly we would have seen him or not. Obviously, Chandler Morris made a big impact on Baylor's playoff run last year. I mean, they don't lose that TCU game. They're, I believe, in the playoff, right? So he showed some goods in that game, and I'm sure he'll be good to go with Sonny Dykes and company. But he's a guy who's going to have some big shoes to fill as well. But it's the shoes that he's filling are the shoes that he beat to begin with. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
We will discuss this